Sitting in 23-hour solitary confinement, Joseph Duggar claims he's reading his Bible every single day, and his mother, Michelle Duggar, is sending him a very specific message through the prison phone lines. God is gracious to those who are humble. But the question we all have to ask is this genuine remorse? Or is this just the Duggar family's signature image management at play? Because when you hear the unedited details of this leaked jailhouse phone call, everything you thought you knew about Joseph and Kendra's marriage completely shatters. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. If you're new here, we dive deep into the dark realities behind reality TV's most controversial families, analyzing the psychology, the scandals, and the court documents they don't want you to see. Today, we are breaking down the explosive March 20th jailhouse phone call between Joseph Duggar and his wife Kendra. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because the Duggar dominoes are falling and we are covering every single angle. Let's get into it. Before we dive into the actual audio transcripts and the startling revelations from this call, we have to set the stage. Who are we really dealing with here? For years, Joseph Duggar was painted as the quiet, obedient, rule-following son of Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar. He was the golden boy who stayed out of the spotlight, the one who married the incredibly sweet, perpetually giggling Kendra Caldwell. They were supposed to be the picture-perfect Institute in Basic Life Principles, or IBLP, success story. They followed all the rules. They had the kids. They built the house on the Duggar compound. But as we've learned time and time again with this family, the loudest secrets are often hidden behind the quietest smiles. When the news first broke that Joseph had been taken into custody, the internet practically broke. This wasn't Josh. This wasn't the known black sheep of the family. This was Joseph. And suddenly, Kendra, who has been sheltered her entire life, first by her father, Pastor Paul Caldwell, and then by the Duggar patriarchs, is left standing alone, holding the pieces of a shattered public image. What you need to understand about the Duggar family dynamic is that when a crisis hits, the PR machine doesn't just go into overdrive, it goes into spiritual warfare mode. And that is exactly what we are witnessing right now. This phone call, which took place on March 20th, 2026, is the very first time Joseph and Kendra spoke after his processing. It's the first time the reality of the concrete walls, the steel doors, and the metal bunks truly set in for him. The stakes couldn't be higher. Viewers, you should care about this because this isn't just about one man sitting in a cell. This is a masterclass in high-control group psychology. This is about how a family empire attempts to silence panic using scripture as a weapon. We've seen this playbook before. We watched Jim Bob and Michelle do this during the 2015 scandals. We watched them do it during the 2021 federal trial. But this time, the facade is cracking in real time on a recorded county jail phone line. What would you have done if you were in Kendra's shoes, suddenly left alone with all those kids and a media circus at your front door? Let me know in the comments, because her position right now is genuinely unimaginable. The background leading up to this call is filled with tension. According to reports from the Ashley's Reality Roundup, Kendra has been heavily shielded by the Duggar inner circle since the arrest. She isn't watching the news. She isn't reading the blogs. Her entire reality is being filtered through Jim Bob and Michelle. So when the phone rings and that automated voice announces a call from a correctional facility, Kendra isn't just speaking to her husband. She is acting as the conduit for the Duggar family's crisis management team. Let's break down exactly what happened on March 20th, 2026. According to audio leaks and comprehensive breakdowns by TMZ and People magazine, the call connects and the atmosphere is immediately heavy. There are no cameras here. There is no TLC producer telling them to smile. This is the stark reality of a family in freefall. And the first for this partner, the thing you notice is the absolute panic in Joseph's voice. According to the transcripts and reports, Joseph spends the first few minutes of the call detailing his living conditions, and this is where we get our first massive piece of information. Joseph tells Kendra that he is currently locked in 23-hour solitary confinement. Let that sink in. 23 hours a day, completely alone in a cell, with only 1 hour out for recreation or a shower. Now, facilities often put high-profile inmates in solitary confinement for their own protection. It's standard protocol when your last name is Duggar and you are suddenly thrust into a general population environment that likely knows exactly who you are and what your family is famous for. But how Joseph frames this isolation from Kendra is fascinating. He doesn't say he's terrified. He doesn't say he's losing his mind in a concrete box. No, Joseph leans right back into the IBLP programming. He tells Kendra that he is treating his solitary confinement cell as his prayer closet. He claims that he is reading his Bible every single day, front to back, spending hours in deep prayer. But here's where the narrative starts to show its cracks. Is he actually having a spiritual awakening? Or is he saying exactly what he knows the recorded jail lines will capture? Remember, these inmates know their calls are recorded. They know the media requests these calls through the Freedom of Information Act. Joseph saying he's in his prayer closet sounds a lot like a man trying to establish a narrative of piety and remorse for the public, the judges, and his family. Then we hear Kendra, and this is truly heartbreaking. The reports from the LA Times analysis of the audio describe her voice as trembling, entirely stripped of that signature giggle we saw for years on television. She's crying. She's trying to keep the children quiet in the background. She is quite literally drowning in the reality of her new life. She tells Joseph how hard it is. She mentions the stress of the media parked outside. And how does Joseph respond? According to the call breakdown, he redirects the conversation away from her pain and back to his own spiritual journey in his cell. It's a classic deflection tactic. But the most crucial moment of this entire phone call, the part that made true crime analysts and Duggar critics drop their jaws, happens at the 15-minute mark. This is when Kendra passes on the message from the matriarch herself, Michelle Duggar. Kendra says to him, "Your mom wanted me to tell you, God is gracious to those who are humble." Let's pause right there. God is gracious to those who are humble. On the surface, it sounds like a sweet, motherly piece of biblical encouragement. But in the world of the Duggars, words have layered meanings. Do you think Joseph is actually spending 23 hours a day praying, or is he playing a character? Let me know your thoughts down below. Now we need to dissect what was actually said, because the revelations from these calls go so much deeper than just a Bible study in a jail cell. When Michelle Duggar tells Joseph to be humble, she isn't just telling him to be a good Christian. In the IBLP cult vernacular, humility equals compliance. Humility means not fighting back against the family's narrative. Michelle is essentially sending a coded message through Kendra. Accept your fate, keep your mouth shut, do not drag this family down any further, and take whatever punishment comes your way with a smile, so we can spin this as a story of persecution and redemption. It is damage control wrapped in a Bible verse. Michelle is telling him to play the role of the broken, repentant sinner, because that is the only storyline their religious base will accept. But it gets even wilder. According to insider sources speaking to People magazine, Michelle wasn't the only one sending messages into that jail cell. What they didn't tell you initially was that Anna Duggar, yes, Josh Duggar's wife, has been actively trying to insert herself into Kendra's crisis. During the phone call, Kendra reveals that Anna sent her an email filled with scripture, offering advice on how to be a strong prison wife. This is the part that shocked everyone. Anna Duggar, whose husband is currently sitting in a federal penitentiary in Segoville, Texas, is now acting as the veteran prison wife mentor to Kendra. According to the reports, Anna's email encouraged Kendra to stand by her headship and trust that God is using the prison system to refine their husbands. Can you imagine being Kendra Caldwell right now? Your husband has just been locked in solitary confinement. Your entire world has been flipped upside down, and the person offering you a shoulder to cry on is Anna Duggar, telling you to just smile and endure it? It is a terrifying glimpse into the generational cycle of trauma and compliance in this family. And then comes the final blow of the phone call. Kendra delivers the official consensus from the Duggar family compound. She tells Joseph, "Everyone loves you. but they are disappointed. Everyone loves you, but they are disappointed. This is the ultimate weaponization of conditional love. In their world, being a disappointment to Jim Bob and Michelle are worse than facing a judge. It means your financial support, your social standing, and your spiritual salvation are all on thin ice. They are subtly reminding Joseph that his place in the family is currently suspended pending his behavior. If he goes rogue, if he blames his upbringing, if he steps out of line, he will be cut off. This is wild, right? Do you think Anna Duggar has any business giving Kendra advice? Drop a comment because I am still reeling from that detail. The fallout from this leaked phone call has been absolutely catastrophic for the Duggar family's remaining public image. Within hours of the audio details hitting TMZ and People magazine, the internet was ablaze. Legal experts were quick to point out how damaging this call could actually be for Joseph. While he didn't confess to any specific crimes on the audio, the heavy reliance on humility and prayer is being viewed by critics as a performative shield rather than genuine accountability. Public response has been fiercely divided, but almost everyone agrees on one thing. Kendra is in an impossible situation. Social media platforms like TikTok and Reddit's Duggar's Snark community has exploded with sympathy for her. People are analyzing her trembling voice, pointing out that she is a young mother left to raise a massive brood of children completely alone, with no formal education or financial independence to fall back on. She is entirely reliant on the Duggar estate. She literally lives in a house on their property. So when Kendra passes along messages from Michelle or reads emails from Anna, she isn't doing it because she's a willing co-conspirator in a PR plot. She is doing it because her survival depends on keeping Jim Bob and Michelle as happy. The media response has also heavily scrutinized how this audio even got out. Because this was a county jail call, it was subject to public record laws. True crime journalists filed FOIA requests immediately, knowing that the first instinct is always to hide the truth. The transparency of the legal system is the one thing Jim Bob Duggar cannot control with his checkbook. And the religious community? The critics of the IBLP are having a field day. They are pointing to this phone call as the ultimate proof of the cult's toxic teachings. The fact that Joseph's first instinct upon being locked in a cage is to rebrand it as a prayer closet is textbook IBLP indoctrination. It's an inability to face reality. Friends of the Caldwell family have reportedly expressed deep concern for Kendra. Whispers in the Arkansas community suggest that Pastor Caldwell is furious, not just at Joseph, but at how the Duggars are trying to manage his daughter. But Kendra is trapped in the middle. What would you do if your family was telling you to stand by a man in this situation? Do you think Kendra will ever leave? I really want to read your opinions on this down in the comments. Let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture here, because this 20-minute phone call is a microcosm of a much larger, much darker cultural issue. In my opinion, Joseph's behavior on this call is pure PR manipulation, deeply ingrained into him since childhood. He isn't talking to Kendra, he is talking to the tape recorder. He knows Jim Bob will hear this. He knows the media will hear this. When we analyze the psychology behind the prayer closet excuse, we see a recurring pattern in high-control religious groups. They use religion as a shield for terrible behavior. If you reframe your legal consequences as spiritual warfare or a test from God, it absolves you of having to take personal accountability. It's no longer, I broke the law and hurt people. It becomes, God is putting me through a trial to refine my faith. We saw this exact same psychological defense mechanism with Josh Duggar. When his scandals broke, it was all about his spiritual failings and his time in a faith-based rehab center. They never addressed the legal or moral reality of the victims. They only addressed their standing with God. Michelle's message of humility fits perfectly into this dynamic. The Duggars do not believe in secular justice. They believe in their own internal hierarchy. By telling Joseph to be humble, Michelle is enforcing the hierarchy. She is reminding him that God, and by extension Jim Bob, is still in control. This cultural analysis is crucial to understanding why Kendra stays. Kendra was raised in the exact same belief system. she was taught that her only value is in her submission to her husband and her family. Leaving Joseph doesn't just mean getting a divorce. It means losing her community, her financial support, her eternal salvation, and potentially her children. The parallels between Kendra and Anna are terrifying. Anna was groomed to be a martyr for her marriage, and now we are watching Kendra be pushed onto that exact same track. The only difference is that the public is watching it happen in real time on leaked county jail audio. So, where do we go from here? What is the current status of Joseph Duggar, and what should we be watching for in the coming weeks? As of right now, Joseph remains in custody, and reports indicate he is still in that 23-hour solitary confinement block. His legal team is gearing up for the preliminary hearings, and if we know anything about Duggar lawyers, they are going to file every single motion possible to delay, suppress, and obfuscate the evidence. The biggest thing to watch for is Kendra's physical presence at the upcoming court dates. Will she show up? Will she walk in holding Michelle Duggar's hand, wearing a modest dress and a forced smile, just like Anna did? Or will she stay home? Her physical presence at the courthouse will be the ultimate indicator of whether the Duggar PR machine has successfully locked her down. Furthermore, true crime journalists are waiting on the release of visitor logs. Who is actually going to see Joseph in person? Will Jim Bob visit, or will he keep his distance to protect the brand? We are closely monitoring the dockets, and the moment a bail hearing or a trial date is firmly set, the media circus in Arkansas is going to double in size. To briefly recap, the March 20th jailhouse phone call between Joseph and Kendra Duggar gave us a chilling look behind the curtain. We heard a man sitting in solitary confinement, spinning his isolation into a tale of a prayer closet. We heard a terrified, overwhelmed wife trying to hold her family together. And we heard the unmistakable, controlling voices of Michelle and Anna Duggar, filtering their PR strategies and toxic compliance through the guise of biblical humility. Is this genuine remorse from Joseph? Based on the calculated way he deflected Kendra's pain to highlight his own Bible reading, it looks a whole lot more like image management. It's the same old Duggar script, just being read from a different jail cells. But the real tragedy here isn't Joseph sitting in a concrete box. The real tragedy is Kendra and the children who are left outside those walls, forced to navigate a storm they didn't create, while being managed by a family that cares more about their television legacy than the truth. That is all the information we have for today, but this case is developing rapidly, and I will be here to cover every single update. If you found this breakdown helpful, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell notification so you don't miss the next video, where we will dive into the specific court documents filed this week. Now I want to hear from you. After hearing the details of this phone call, do you think Joseph is genuinely remorseful or just acting for the tapes? Comment below, real or fake? Let's get a debate going in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next one.